What's going on, guys? Snake Eyes here, playing some more Dark Souls 2, and in this video we're going to be doing another boss weapon showcase. And the boss weapon we're going to be showcasing today is the Pursuer's Greatsword. Now if you don't know how to get the Pursuer's Greatsword, all you have to do is just trade it to Strayed, who's located in the Lost Bastille. But before you do that, you have to unpetrify him. It costs 1,500 souls, and obviously the soul of the Pursuer. And as far as being Ultra Greatsword, it's actually not too bad. Right now we're going to go into things betwixt, and I'll get into more detail about that in a minute. Okay, so now that we're here, we're going to get into more details as far as the stats go. The base attack is actually not too bad at 156. For an Ultra Greatsword, that's kind of a little low, but there's actually a couple little hidden things that's with this weapon that I'm going to explain into more detail as soon as I get done with everything else. The strength requirement is actually coming in kind of high as well at 30 attack, at 30 strength I mean. That's 15 if you decide to two-hand this weapon, and also 18 dex. But the scaling is also really good too, with a B scaling in strength and a C scaling in dexterity. Like I said, all in all, it's pretty good, but you have to have some pretty high strength if you want to take advantage of that B scaling in strength. So that's something that you want to take into consideration. Now, the moveset is actually not very different. Well, actually, it's the same as the Greatsword that I had reviewed a couple of episodes back. But like I said, there's something hidden that I want to explain more into detail. But that's what happens when you spam R1. That's the strong attack. The running attack is the same thing, but he just strikes the other way. The shield bashing again is pretty standard, and it always has my favorite jumping attack, which I'm pretty sure all these weapons have jumping attacks. I've been doing enough of these where I'm seeing a pattern, so I'm assuming that thing. But we're gonna get into more detail with this weapon because I actually have the Greatsword on me, and we're gonna see a couple of little differences that I didn't notice until I was actually messing around. So as you can see, I'm going to switch back to the Pursuer's Greatsword. As you can see, when I'm doing regular two-handed attacks, I can actually do four hits, and then when I go back to the Greatsword, I'm going to let my stamina fill up. It only lets me do 3. So the weapon being smaller in size kind of, I guess, balances it out with the fact that you can get more hits out of your stamina. And I don't have very high stamina. I think I'm only at 20. Yeah, I'm at 20 endurance, so it's not too high, but one extra hit is really a big difference, especially when you're dealing with heavy hitting weapons like this. And the size, obviously the size can't compare to the regular Greatsword, but again, little subtle things can make a big difference. And also, it's not coming in as heavy as the Greatsword. The Greatsword weighs 22 pounds as this one weighs 18 pounds, but when it comes to these percentages, and it meaning that a couple of pounds can actually put you over 70%, those 4 pounds actually can make a pretty big difference. And once you start upgrading unique weapons like this, they actually get a big boost when you start leveling them up. So I'm pretty sure a Greatsword +5 to a Pursuer Greatsword +5, I'm pretty sure the Pursuer Greatsword might either meet it or be a little bit above. But don't quote me on that because I'm not too sure. I haven't really gotten into collecting petrified dragon bones, because I think that this is what this weapon takes as far as the upgrading thing. I always recommend the slower hitting weapons to boss fights because they just really, to me, serve no practical use as far as it goes with enemies. If you guys know how to use these swords against regular enemies, then you know what you can do and what you can't do. But me personally, I like using faster hitting weapons rather than these slow hitting weapons because, like I said, it's just a personal preference. But as you can see, strong attacks actually hit really low. I was able to get them and knock them out really quick, and it being a strong attack does more damage, so there's actually that to think about as well. But that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Actually, I'm going to get into a little bit more of the design. I always do this. I always feel like I'm going to finish and then there's always something else. But the design of the sword is actually pretty badass. It kind of sucks that there's not a special attack like the Pursuer had his curse weapon or curse move when he impaled you and the sword turned blue. It kind of sucks that we don't have something like that, but I guess as far as PvP goes, that would be a little overpowered, but still it's always nice to have a weapon that can do a unique strong attack. And this actually is more like a cut and paste ultra great sword moveset, which has its pros and its cons. If people are used to the ultra great sword moveset, then transitioning over to this weapon to fool around would be no problem at all. It being smaller means that when you get into tight corridors, you're actually able to do a little bit more than having to switch out for your regular great sword. And we might as well go ahead and read a little bit of lore, because I mean, why not? It always helps out. It's always kind of cool. As soon as I get in right there. Okay, so ultra great sword of the Pursuer, known as the mightiest of the straight swords, it demands great strength and dexterity of its wielder, which is actually pretty damn true. The Pursuer hunts down those branded by the curse, as if each undead soul that he claims will atone one of his sins. I always mess up these readings, I don't know why, but that kind of gets you a little bit more knowledge of the Pursuer. Maybe he did some pretty messed up things, and it's like you said, he's going around hunting those with that have the dark sign, hoping that he can maybe, I guess, buy his way back into whatever it is, good graces of who knows. But that's gonna wrap it up for this boss weapons guide. It's not too long, but that's because there's really not much to this weapon. It's actually a nice looking sword. For those who are looking for different strength build weapons, this is actually one that you might want to check out, unless you like great shields, and then you can pick up one of those. But me personally, I'm not too big of a fan of great shields, so I don't mess with those. But that's gonna wrap it up. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep tuned, because I'm actually going to be doing more of these boss weapons guide now that I've unlocked Strayed, and I'm actually on my way to unlock the other guy, which I'll do a video on that as well. But until then, take care.